So I've used AI to create hacks for 2 games now. One of them worked and the other partially worked. I wanted to try this again, but on a more anti-cheat heavy game, so I chose Valorant. And you're probably wondering, how do you expect to succeed in this since it didn't really work for Roblox? Well, let me explain. First, I just want to say this is purely for entertainment purposes. I don't encourage cheating. Riot, please do not ban me. Around a year ago, I used AI to create a macro for a Roblox tower defense game. The idea behind it was pretty simple. The macro would automatically join the game, place my units, upgrade them, and continue this cycle over and over. But what does this have to do with Valorant? Well, since mistakes are inevitable, the code would constantly scan the screen for certain objects, and once those objects appeared, the macro knew what stage it was on and could continue everything in the correct order. This process is called optical character recognition, or OCR, and it's what I'll be using for Valorant because trying to get around one of the best gaming anti-cheats is definitely a waste of time. So the plan is to use AI to detect players on the screen and snap onto them, but you'll see later on that this was quite the challenge. I first started by asking Gogh 4 to develop the script. Okay, so Gogh just gave us back a Python script despite me naming a node module, but that's fine. So it says this script uses Python to capture the screen, detect red outlines assuming they are in a specific HSV range for red, and draw bounding boxes around detected contours on a transparent overlay window. Okay, so we have this script here. I have no idea if it works or not, but I want to try doing something first. I want to ask Gogh to create me a similar script that is going to scan an image I upload and it's going to draw the ESP boxes around it. I'm going to see if it can do that, and if it can do that, I will then try the script, hopefully. I'm going to try it in a different chat. So apparently on the free tier with Gogh, there is a 1 message limit if you aren't signed in. And instead of giving Elon the data he already has on me, I decided to use Cursor instead, so I could use that same script as a reference to bypass any restrictions that I could face later on. Alright, so this is a screenshot we're going to be using here. There are a lot of colors in this image, but our main targets are going to be this, the gecko right here, the jet, and probably the vice on the floor. There's also a Reina here and a sky in a different color. This is like teal, I think. But yeah, there are a lot of different colors, so I'm gonna see if it works. If this works, we will then try it in Valorant and hopefully not get bans. So it looks like you just run Python detect outline, detect red outlines.py, and we attach the screenshot after. And let's see if it works. Okay, a lot of windows opened here. So we have a red mask. Don't know what that is. We have detected outlines. So from looking at this, there are a lot of boxes highlighted, but our main targets, there are some boxes on them. For Gecko, he has boxes on its legs, so it detected the red on Gecko, and it detected a lot of the red on Jet. Only 1 box for Vice, and there are some other boxes which don't really make sense. The reason why there are so many random boxes is because these boxes actually have some red in them that meets the range we have defined in the code. And playing around with the range isn't really viable because every Valorant map is different color-wise, so it'll be pretty useless. Therefore, I just decided to train the AI off Valorant images so it knows exactly what a player looks like. I could have done this 2 ways, locally or with a public computer vision tool, but I actually decided to do both ways. I first tried using a public tool, but there was no way for me to export the data. So that forced me to use a tool created by AI to easily crop the images and feed it the data. And 357 images later, this is what happened. Okay, so it seems like our model is finally done training. We can view the results in runs. You can see all the plots and metrics, but truthfully, I don't really care about this stuff. But we can actually test and see if this works. So I'm gonna go into gonna clear the terminal, clear, and I believe I have a screenshot. Okay, so we have this screenshot here. I'm just gonna copy this and paste it and see what it does. Ideally, we want to highlight the jet and the It turns out the training wasn't actually done yet, and it was going to take quite some time. So while we wait, I wanted to use AI to do another form of cheating. If you didn't know, Valorant has a lot of issues: stream sniping, win trading, throwing, and a lot more. I actually came across one of them while I was making this video. Nonetheless though, most of these issues are really caused by a false sense of anonymity. Like many other games, you can hide your name so others can't see it till the end of the match, which should prevent a lot of the issues I just mentioned. But for some reason, you can bypass this in Valorant, and I wanted to see if AI can create a script to bypass it alongside some other crucial things that ruin the game. Okay, so I don't think I was really specific about what I'm really trying to accomplish here, but there are 3 things. I want the AI to create a script that will insta-lock any agent for when I queue in, and I also want to see the names of every single person in the lobby, and I also want to see what team I am on in agent select. If you don't play Valorant, agent select is basically where you go and select your agents, and for some dumb reason, you can actually see what team you're on. Anyways, these are the 2 links that we're going to be using as references here, and I'm going to be using Opus 4.5. I think it's the best model out right now. I'm not too sure, but we're going to use that. And we're just going to do it just like that. So it allows us to view the pre-game, view current game players, lock agent, select agent without locking, list all agents, exit. Okay, so we're in the game. The first feature I tested was seeing hidden names. Okay, so the game is over. These were all the players in that deathmatch. And if we go to scoreboard, you can see everyone's name. So if we match everything, Clove, it said Clove's name was DT. It's the same guy right here. And if we go to, whose name was hidden? Harbor's name was hidden. His name is Dreamer, and it's the same name that is showing up here. Neon's name was hidden. His name is Alvin, and his name is Alvin here. The code was updated a little bit from the last clip, so it would insta-lock better, but this is what happened. Since waiting for agent select, I kind of like this loading thing it's added. This is really cool. But we're going to go back to Spike Rush and wait for a Q to pop. So we're going to be locking Jet. I'm not going to cut anything just to prove that this actually works and it's not me doing anything. I said I wasn't going to cut anything, but the Q was almost 2 minutes, and I obviously didn't want to leave that in, so the clip being shown is sped up. Okay, we finally had a Q pop, and it said a locked Jet. We're not even in the game yet, so let's see if it actually worked. Okay, it did lock Jet. I'm hearing the Jet stuff in the background. This is so stupid. It is so dumb. See, and we locked Jet without even doing anything. And if we go to view pre-game players, it also updates with the agents we're locking. We can also see the levels like I mentioned earlier in the pre-game as well. Okay, so there are some anonymous players on the other team, so we're gonna choose 2, and we can see everything. For the other team, they have 2, Brimstone and Gecko. Brimstone and Gecko, the real names are here. It also seems like these 2 players are queued together, or they're queue sniping. Funny enough, while I was recording, I ran into another issue Valorant has been facing for a while: bot farms. So if you remember earlier, there was somewhat of a queue for that Spike Rush game, and I figured out why pretty quickly once I got into that game. And I also just realized this guy said people are farming accounts on A. Unfortunate thing is he's probably right, because every single person on that team has over 100 ping. Adding on to this, the Phoenix on my team had a really similar name to the Gecko on the opposing team. So you can probably make the assumption that this guy was feeding his friend information about my team. If you think having high ping could have just been a server problem though, you're wrong, because the 3 players on my team, myself included, all had around 20 to 50 ping, which seems normal. Therefore, a lot of the enemies were playing from another region to farm accounts to then sell them to North American players for money. But pushing those issues aside, our AI model was finally done being trained, and this was the result. The trading is finally done. So I have this screenshot, which is going to be the thumbnail of the video. Ideally, I want to see if it can highlight Jet and Gecko, and maybe Vice. Vice is a big maybe, because it doesn't really matter if we highlight people who are dead. We just want to highlight the players who are alive, if that makes sense. I believe all we do is Python run_YOLO, and then we just type the screenshot or the image. Let's see if it does anything. Truthfully, I don't know what the problem here was, since there's actually trained data, but after going back and forth with AI, it finally worked. So it's going to try and run the script on its own. Yeah, it does change it. Anything above 40 is shown. Now, this is great. This works. Now, we need to try and do this in-game. That is going to be the tricky part, and I do think there's a chance where I can get banned. The current code I had was only for images, so AI did some refinements, and this was the result that we've all been waiting for. So I'm gonna try and see if this works. So real-time PY, and so I'm gonna go right next to this and see. And nothing is happening for some reason. Okay, we're gonna send a screenshot and see what it tries to do. Gemini is done doing the updates. It will now draw a blue square in the center of your screen. This marks the area where it's looking for enemies, the FOV. If you don't see this blue box, the overlay isn't working or is hidden. Keep all the changes and we're gonna run it again. Okay, the box is on the left hand of the screen. Yeah, there's still nothing being logged in the console. I'm gonna try dropping the confidence a little bit lower, because this could be what's happening. I'm gonna drop it to 0.2 and we're gonna restart the code again and see if it does anything. Okay, we're in the game. Okay, and oh wait, it did work. Wait, it worked. It detected the target. It's not very consistent, but it does work. Just on the left hand side. And you can see it's more consistent now. The consistency issue probably could have been fixed by training more images. I guess 356 wasn't enough. But now that we know that the detection is partially working, what about snapping onto the target? Well, that didn't really go as planned. It's detecting the target. Press insert to toggle mouse movement. It's not doing anything, unfortunately. Okay, so it still didn't work despite me being an administrator on the terminal. So if you didn't understand what was happening, well, that was me trying to enable the snapping feature, but it wasn't working. The reason for that was because Valorant's anti-cheat Vanguard actually blocks simulated mouse movements, and the only way to really get around this is to use a Raspberry Pi or an Arduino, and I had neither of them in my possession, so this attempt would be put on hold for now unless I did a part 2. But at least we were able to cheat in a non-traditional way, and thank you for watching the video and subscribe if you enjoyed.